my question is to the Premier. Could the Premier please update the House and my community in particular as to the negotiations with Nyrstar between the state government, Tasmanian government and the federal government? With your leave and that of the House, Madam, I'll explain a bit further.
Leave sought is leave granted.
I do understand there's been some very serious delegate discussions going on, but my community would appreciate any regular update, and seeing this is the last sitting of Parliament for another 2 weeks, I'd appreciate any update from my community.
Premier.
I thank the member for Stewart for his question, and I think everyone in this place would well appreciate the affinity that the member for Stewart has, not just with his community, but particularly the people that work at the smelters, and I thank him for his long-standing advocacy. Yes, these is a set of negotiations I'm across the detail of a little bit more than the other subject matter being asked about. So, as I've enunciated publicly, we have put a revised position between the three governments to Nyrstar late last week that they confirmed they received on the weekend, and we've been awaiting their response. The governments have now received a response from Nyrstar, and I'd like to put on the record my appreciation for that. That is something we are now actively considering between the three governments, and as recently as this morning, there's been active engagement with the Commonwealth regarding that. There is still more work that needs to be done. We're in a negotiation. There are points of difference that need to be resolved, as is the case in any negotiation. But knowing what Nyrstar have put back to us, I think graduates us closer to the outcome that we're all looking for. Both parties are moving their position to reach a compromise to see the issue resolved for a period. Understanding that this is a 24-month exercise where governments are supporting smelting operations in Pirie and Hobart to get us to the end of the feasibility study, particularly around antimony in Pirie with the pilot plant now well and truly up and running, with multiple stages and gates that have to be gone through in order to get us to the end game. At the end of that feasibility study, there will also be big judgments that have to be made by all the parties concerned. But we have the aspiration of at least getting to that point. I anticipate there'll be more than one gateway to get through in order to get to that feasibility study. We're now at the first, or the end of the first, so to speak, at the beginning of May. The negotiation we're having now will take us through, hopefully for a period of months, and one of the things that we're negotiating is what that length of time is, before there potentially being a third option that takes us through to the end of the 24 months. And that's some of the detail that we're negotiating without compromising commercial and confidence arrangements. We share the ambition across all governments to get to that end in 24 months. But we're not negotiating on the basis that this solves the problem to that end period. There might be interims between now and then. And that is what we're working through. I would love to see an outcome we can just have an agreement that takes us all the way through to 24 months. But there are checks and balances that we want to ensure, because we want to make sure, we have an obligation to make sure that Nyrstar is keeping their end of the bargain too. To this point, they have. In fact, to their great credit, they've done it rather impressively, which we're very happy about. But that doesn't change the fact that ultimately we're talking about taxpayers' money here, and we have a responsibility to checking this off. This is going to take time, and it's not going to be easy. It's like Whyalla. Completely different issues to Whyalla, but the same level of complexity and the same timelines that were involved. But at the moment, we're in a better position today than what was the case on Thursday of last week, which is a far better position than we were 2 weeks before that. I wish we were standing here today making an announcement. At one point I thought we might be, but we haven't reached that point yet. Bearing in mind there are three governments who have to agree to this, not one, which brings with it the sort of complexity you'd imagine. But as soon as we're in a position to announce an agreement, let me assure you we'll be announcing it, as I want to put the people of Port Pirie's minds to ease as quickly as we can.